Hello, welcome back to SureFire Live. Good to see you guys again. Looks like we got a nice little crowd building, and it's good to be back. I was off last week. I was not able to have a good connection where we were, and so we're back this week. So thanks for joining us. I want to remind everybody, if you're interested, there is a upcoming business event for the CSIA and MACA, the Mid-Atlantic Chimney Association. It is February 24th and 25th. It will be in McLean, Virginia, and it will have Hope Stevenson speaking, Alan Rush, Tommy Nelms, Allison Reynolds, Jim Brewer, Joanne Cotero, John Caesar, and myself. And we are going to have tons of topics, almost all new content. None of it has been actually talked about before. And I'm really looking forward to it. They're going to have in-person, and they're going to have virtual seats. And let me see, I think I have that from the other week. Yes, here it is. So it's chimneysafety.org if you want to sign up for it. There's still some seats. There is a little bit of limited seating, but I think they still have seats left. And you will go there and sign up. And also, if you're on the Facebook group for CSIA, there's information on there as well if you go to CSI certified group. So reach out to those guys. Actually, here's the phone number as well for Jim Bostaff. He is the executive director, and he is heading that up. Should be a great event. Looking forward to it. So if you haven't signed up, please come see us out there. So with that being said, last week I was on a trip with a bunch of buddies of mine that we, every couple of years, 10, 12 years ago, a friend of mine said, hey, he's John Meredith, he sails, and he's like, I want to go sailing again. You guys want to go sailing? Well, a lot of us didn't know anything about sailing, but of course, yeah, we'll go. And we formed this little team of sailors called the Soot Sailors, and we're terrible, and we go compete against in St. Martin and some of these different really great destinations. But we sail once every 2 years, but we've gotten better, and sometimes we've actually won some races and done well. And last year it was COVID, so we couldn't go to the race, but we were going to lose the deposit on the boat. So this year there was no race. We just had to go sit on a sailboat for a week, and it was great. And one of the guys that joined me is a good friend of mine, Kirby Ragland, and I've known Kirby for a very long time, and we became fast friends when we met. And he runs a very interesting business, and he has a great story. And I thought, as I talked to him on the ship, that he would be a good one to have on the show and talk about his perspective. And so that being said, I'm going to bring Kirby on. Here he comes. Hey, Kirby.
Hey, Mark.
How are you tonight?
Good. Nice to see you, man.
Yeah. So Kirby is in the chimney business as well, but he didn't start in the chimney business. Kirby, tell people kind of your background and how you found this crazy chimney business.
Yeah, well, it was completely by accident, Mark. So I got a marketing degree, college. I got out. I got a job in computers, and it was way back in the 80s, the early 80s. And it was very cool because not many people were in the computer business.
Yeah, it was
and
early.
So, yeah, I mean, it was back when it was before Windows, and it was before Word and all that stuff. And it was kind of cool. So I did that for a number of years. And I was with a big company, and I was with a number of companies, and the company broke up and sold divisions off in different parts of the country. The home office was in California. They asked me if I wanted to move out there, and I was in my 20s. I was like invincible. I said, no, I don't want to move out there. I'm fine. And another part of it went to Florida, and they said, you want to move down there? I said, no, I'm fine right here. I'll find something to do. And so when the job ended and I was free floating or free falling, I realized that, oh crap, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I was out socially one night with some friends, and there was a guy there, and he had on a baseball cap, and it was kind of dirty. And I didn't know it was soot at the time, but it was soot. And you know how the conversation goes. Hey, what do you do? Hey, what do you do? And I don't like those conversations, but I participate. And I said, well, okay, what are you doing? He said, I'm a chimney sweep. And I thought, oh my God, silently, I thought, wow, man, this guy's life sucks. You know, he failed totally at life. And I was thinking he was going to say something like the post office or something, but man, chimney sweep. I thought, God, that's horrible. I felt bad. I was empathetic. And so then he started talking. He explained to me, you know, it was a real business. I didn't know what that was at all. I had
Right.
no idea. And so I jumped in. I said, hey, man, I got some business experience. You know, maybe I can help you in some way, pro bono, because I'm not doing anything. And he was like, sure, man, come on out. And he didn't want any of the pro bono business experience. He just wanted some manual labor. And I had nothing else to do. And I did it. And I thought, wow, this is very cool. You know, the amount
Really?
of money he was charging.
Right.
I live in Richmond, Virginia, and there's a lot of old houses around here. And I thought, oh, this might be something.
Right.
So that's how it started.
So you worked for him for a little bit. How quickly did you decide that I'm going to do this for myself, or did he sell you the business, or how did that work?
No. I just helped him really as a friend.
Oh, right.
I almost made no money with him, and I did it just because I had nothing else to do. And I did it while I was looking for employment
Hmm.
and while I was trying to figure out what I was doing. I don't know, man. Maybe let's say 6 months is probably pretty accurate. I got a business license and I put an ad in the yellow pages, you know, and it was
Everybody did.
$300. And I thought, and then I found out it was, no, what was it? It was $300 a month. I thought, what, a month? What?
I
I
know.
thought that was a year. So anyway, and you know, it was kind of crazy. It was a lot of fun because I did all my own advertising. I drew all of my, you know, things for advertising. I wrote all the script and I did all my accounting on a spreadsheet. And one of those things
So,
that I'd never do again.
right. So when you saw the business, oh, by the way, guys, this is a two-way conversation. Make sure you send comments, questions to Kirby, questions to me. You just say hi. We got a nice little group joining here through different places, and feel free to talk to us. But so Kirby, when you were looking at that, when you said, okay, it's going to be a business, you have a hey, Stephen. He says hi, all. Nice to see you. When when you saw it as a business, how quickly? Well, let's just talk about future Kirby. So this was the part when we were talking that I really liked about your thought process early on in the business, because I can tell you for me, when I got into it, I
Yeah,
was just kind of going. There was no, I
yeah,
didn't really think of the future that much, but you kind of did pretty quickly. And can you tell
yeah.
me kind of what that was like for you?
Mark, I think that may have been an age thing because I didn't get into the business until I was 40. I mean, I
Right.
think 39, 40. And I know for me, you know, when I was in my 20s, I didn't have the brain power to think about being old or being older. You know, I thought I had enough time to do anything. I think what it was, man, is I had the advantage of coming off a really bad time in my life. So it was things, I had a very good career in computers. Things went south. And then I got into this business. So I really was between a rock and a hard place. I had to pull out
So let me
of
ask
this
you real quick,
dive.
before it
Yeah,
went south for you on in computers, was that the plan for, like, for as long as you could see you were going to be in computers, and then
sure.
everything just changed?
Of course. Of
Gotcha.
course. Yeah, it was an easy decision. I mean, it was great. I loved it. And I was going to keep doing that forever. And all of a sudden, you know, what the F? I'm going out and I'm coming home with soot on my clothes and I'm putting them in the washing machine and they're getting my wife's clothes and she's raising hell. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad news, man.
Right.
But so early on, man, the whole thing was about the future. You know, the whole thing was about it honestly, you know, it was more about the future, more about making a living than it was about chimneys, of course. And so I thought, you know, how can I do this? You know, so that's all I thought about was how do I make the decisions that make me the amount of money that is going to allow me to build something and have something later in life.
Yeah, you said something when we called you Future Kirby, was that you literally said, I need to do something for me when this guy coming down the road at that
Yeah.
60. And I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is I learned this somewhere, and I learned it early on, and it just made a lot of sense to me, and it clicked. That is, the amount of the money that I made, it was not all mine. You know, you hear the thing about pay yourself first.
Right.
I had to pay myself first, but what that meant to me was I had to pay my future self. I had to pay
Right.
the future Kirby. That's why I go by
That was
Future
it. Yeah.
Kirby. Everybody knows me as Future Kirby, Mark.
Right.
No, that just started 2 days ago. But yeah, man. I mean, it was clear for me. It was clear as a bell, man. I had to put away enough money. I had to pay my bills. I had to have enough money to do things that, you know, entertainment and fun without being extreme. But then there was a big segment, a big part of that money, my net, that just was never mine. It was not mine. It was the future Kirby once again, and I had to put that away, man. That was important.
So,
You know that.
most people, when they get all this money, they decide that they're going to build the business first with it, and that they put that extra money into equipment, trucks, buildings, all that. And it sounded like when I talked to you, you actually put it away first and then built on what you had left.
I did the, you know, like if you read David Gerber's book, I did the minimum I could do to get to achieve the results that I needed. I mean, that really resonated in that book with me. So I did not. So I mean, an 8-year-old truck can generate just as much production as a brand new truck in my world.
Right.
It did for me, a 12-year-old truck or whatever. So do I have to have everything shiny? No, I have to do it right. So yes, there's a mixture. There's some planning, when to do what at what time. But yeah, man, it was never for me. Well, I'll tell you, I made a big mistake one time. I started making. I was still. I was probably below 250,000 in revenue. So this is way back. You know, I don't know if listeners can even relate to that, but and I remember running into somebody and they said, "Ooh, you know, I had to buy a truck so I wouldn't have to pay taxes." And I thought that was a good idea. And I don't think that's a good idea anymore. I mean, maybe it is a good idea for somebody here, but it was not good because it sat out in the parking lot for 8 months.
Right.
And I just felt really stupid. I ran into an accountant and he was like, "Dude, what are you doing? It's fine to pay taxes. It's okay, Kirby.
Right.
Think of what you could have done, you know, with that money instead of buying that truck." And I never did that again. So yeah, man, I bought what I needed. Sure, I bought tools. I would never scrimp on tools. That was a major part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I looked at everything very carefully.
What so I asked you this question on my podcast. We if you didn't hear it, we did a podcast with the whole group that was on that boat around the table of what would you tell, when you look back and you now you're talking to a 40-year-old Kirby, which is, very mature in business and in the chimney business, kind of late to start it. I know there's a few guys that started that late, but you got
Yeah,
into the game not as
sure.
a kid like many of us did. And oh, hold on. Chad Murray says he said it's so funny, the "I'm sorry you do what" conversations that we all still have, had been 25 years ago and got it last weekend. Totally. I mean, we all still have to explain what we do,
Yeah,
especially
right.
if you built like a larger business. They're like, hold on, tell me again what you're talking about.
What?
They don't even know it's there. So you're right, Chad. It's still part of our daily conversation. But if you were there's a lot of younger people that watch these and they're building their businesses right now. They're jumping in, and some of them have only been in business, say, less than 10 years. And this has been a real high year. The last couple of years have been on fire, and like everything you do kind of works. And I've
Yeah.
come up through a long time when that isn't always the case. But looking back on, you've been in business 20 plus years, what would you what were some of the things you needed to, and you said this on the podcast, which was very interesting, but what would you look at? What would you watch for?
Well, now what would I look for then?
What would you tell
Yeah,
yourself?
well,
Hey, be sure
yeah,
you do
right.
this.
Yeah, I mean, I would have broken down. Well, I would have gotten into leadership earlier. Like I said before, is when you start off and you've got one truck, who are you leading? But you need to prepare because this stuff does work. And when you put it all together and you create systems, and it's time to lead and to manage, you really need to know how to do that. You need to delegate. We all have trouble with that. We all think we're the best at whatever we do, and of course we're right at that. But and you want to hire people who are better than you, or at least train them up so they're better than you. I think I would have spent more time trying to offload some of that stuff on other people. It was a lot of years I kind of carried it myself.
You also mentioned concentrating on profitability early on.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
Day one. I mean, that was what it was about. And but I never had a lost year. I never lost money because I just concentrated. That's what I'll attribute it to. I'm on my best day, I'm an average guy. But I thought about it a lot, and I probably only did a net in single digits. Well, I've had some issues, but maybe 4 years out of those years did I get down into single digits just because I thought about it a lot. I put a lot of time into making money. I was always concerned about the net. I was never concerned about the number of trucks. I was never concerned about the gross. Yeah, I was really proud of my fellow chimney guys when they would get another truck. I loved it. I loved hearing about it, and they got this manager and this manager. And it's great. I love it. And that is definitely a strategy. I mean, it definitely is a good strategy. But for me, I can just tell you what I did. I always looked at the net, and I got really good at it.
So talk about what a good net number is for a chimney company.
I would just go 20%. I mean, I would think 20%. Me personally, that's my, if I get into single digits, my heart starts, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Right.
I think it's 20 or more, and I've had years with 20 or more. And I know what I did to do that. I just kept it simple, and I tried to focus and be good at limit the things I was good at, and limit the things that I did, and looked for profitability. I did not go chasing a broken flutinator on a Majestic BR549 from 1918. Right. I did not do that stuff. I did not understand that. I would see the little bulletin board and people like, hey, I'm not making fun of any of that. I'm just telling you, for me, I didn't do that because I didn't know how to make any money with fireplace screens.
And you would, so you basically concentrated on what was making you money.
Yeah, I did.
When you say 20%, just for those listening, that for me, that's the number we work on too. Our goal is 20%. Now that's after everybody's paid, including me, that we basically would pay taxes on. Like, try to get that number. And I know that a lot of people try to not pay taxes. And we talked about this on our earlier, that they try to not pay taxes. They try to use the business to write everything off and make it look like the business is never profitable. And the problem with that strategy is you don't look good to the banks. You don't look bankable. You also don't look good when you go to sell the business, that you don't have that many years of profitability. And what is your thought process on that part of it?
Well, I totally agree. I mean, and I started off like everybody else. I mean, I did my best. I made a lot of mistakes, but there in the beginning, yeah, man, I was trying to avoid taxes because I was between a rock and a hard place, man. And I would do the job. I mean, look, this is a long time ago. I would do the job and say, who do I write the check to? Kirby Ragland, right here, write it to me. And then on Saturdays, now look, this is just between, don't This is just between you and me, so don't tell anybody this.
Right.
But on Saturdays, I'd take my little stack of checks and I'd go around all these different banks, the bank that the check was drawn on, and I'd cash all these checks.
Right.
And I mean, theoretically, this is what I did. And I collected this bundle of cash, and I thought, it was very helpful.
Right.
But then I'll tell you, I joined a mixed group, and I'll tell you the exact day I changed my ways. Hope Stevenson was facilitating the mixed group. It was my first mixed group meeting. Somehow, I don't remember, it came out. And she said something to the effect of what you said, but it was like, Kirby, if your employees see you doing that, then that's the type of business you're running. And I was like, nah, God, that really hit me. I went back. We created a ledger for cash. I never touched cash again. And we got all the checks, correct. And we did everything right from there on. But totally agree with you.
We were with John Meredith this last weekend, and he said that a lot of things in business are not necessarily taught, but they're caught, right? And you just kind of catch them in passing. And what you did with cash is super common. I've known several businesses that's how they do it to avoid Uncle Sam. In fact, I had this conversation today. I just purchased a powder coating operation, and I'm taking it over from the owner. And I'm in there, and he's talking about, he said, well, how do you want to handle cash into the business? And I report it all. I don't, people listening, do whatever you want, but I run a super clean business. I report it all, cash. He said, so you're going to charge these people sales tax? Because it's a value added. So you got to, when you powder coat something, you have to charge the sales tax on it. And I said, oh, absolutely. And he said, man, I've never done that. I just put it right in my pocket and F Uncle Sam. I'm like, well, man, that's you. That's how you run the business. But that's not how I'm going to run this business from now on. It's super clean, and I'm going to report it all. My mom was an accountant, wife's accountant, everybody's an accountant. I just run it super clean. Now, you may agree with that or not, but I think it hurts you. And again, let's just say I said it's okay to take cash. Like you said, your employees see you doing that. They think Mark's putting in his pocket. Next thing you know, they're doing something for the cash on the side, powder coating something or doing something, and they're putting cash in their pocket. And that's just how it works. Because Mark or Kirby or whoever the leader is says it's okay. Very much a shadow of the leader. You're going to get what you put out. Everybody in my company knows if we get cash in, it's reported, it's put in QuickBooks. It's done just like a check. It's just cash, and we record it the same way. Whether you do that or not, that's just how I think it's best. But that's interesting you said it. So you decided to switch at the mix meeting because you kind of caught that you should be doing it differently. What else were some big moves for you? And I don't know if you want to say, like, what size is your company today, and what's the plan for your company?
Well, we're under 2 million after all these years, still under 2 million, but just a profitable company for a long time. And I don't mind that at all. And it's just kind of reverse engineering. So it's like that thing about paying taxes on cash. It's about doing everything right and being clean, and then still making the money that you need to make to accomplish your goals. So if you do it long enough, I mean, download a compound interest app tonight, download it, put some numbers in there, man. It's magic. And I heard it was magic years ago, and I was like, but I really know it's magic now. It's amazing. Like, I'll give you one small example, kind of related to this, but for about 15 years or so, I've wanted a 911 Porsche, and I could get one. And let's just say, I just looked this up for the heck of it before I got on here. Let's just say it was $100,000. So the $100,000 that I would have paid for a Porsche 911 15 years ago, guess what that's worth today? At just a moderate interest, $417,000.
Are you serious?
So just say, yeah, 417. Somebody said, I have the 417 now. I don't have the Porsche, but I got the 417. I kind of like that. And so now I can buy a couple of them.
You said that. You said you constantly kind of do that, delayed gratification thing. You're like, how bad do I really want this?
I do.
Or do I want the money?
I do. And I think about it. Here's my little strategy. I'm not telling other people what to do, but if I really want something, I hold off. I hold off. I hold off. I hold off. And then it just kind of diminishes. It goes away. And I still have the money. And I had a good time thinking about it. Like, you know what I really wanted? I wanted a Bentley GT Speed. It's like my
Really?
favorite car right there. Bentley GT Speed. I could buy a used one. I was looking all over the country. I was going to get one. And I had a good time. I was looking at them. I was learning about it. It was fun, man. And then it just kind of went, other stuff came up. I'm like, I still have the money. That's a strategy.
That is a strategy. I've actually heard other people say that. It's exactly what they do. They put a time on it. If they still want it after a certain time, then they'll get it. If they don't, and so many times that's just what they do. And they save the money and they got the money and it compounds. And, what do you want? The feeling of that car or the feeling of the money, or the security of the money. So what's the plan for, you're coming to a stage in your business. What's the next steps for you?
Well, at 63, which is what I am, I'm obviously not going to stay in the business forever. Why would I do that? That's another whole part of this 4,000 hour book that we were talking about.
So let's just say that.
Weeks.
So Kirby mentioned on our thing that there's a book called 4,000 Weeks. And basically what that is your lifetime. You're going to live 4,000 weeks. If you live 80 years, basically 4,000 weeks. And what you do in those 4,000 weeks. So continue on with, you've got 4,000 weeks. You're 3/4 of the way through it. Now what? Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. There's so many lines of thought that are wrapped up in there, to say that. It's like, it starts with, why are you doing this? That it starts like that for me anyway. I can only talk about me. I can't tell you what to do, but
sure.
For me, and so like I said, I was 40 when I started the business. I had to do something, man. I had a window. I don't know how I knew, but a career only takes like 20 years. You can perfect something in 10. I read it in Discovery magazine 35 years ago, so I believe it. You can be a chess master. It was a whole study about chess masters. No, they're not born. They're taught. It takes about 10 years to be an expert at something. And then you need about 20 years for a career. You can do it quicker if you're on the ball, but it's just like an average. So I'm like, all right, I got 40 to 60. I got to wrap this thing up. So basically, I can. For me personally, I can do whatever I want to right now. Everything's all worked out and done. And it's because I followed a system and I followed a plan. And it's because I had the intention. So I chose to say, I'm going to do this so that I can make a certain amount of money and I can do things with it. And I can live a life according to the plan. So I don't have a crazy life, where I am buying speedboats all over the place and all this stuff. But so I live within it.
So you began with the end in mind. Basically, you knew what it was. It's a standard business principle. It began with the end in mind.
What else is there?
Right. But I don't think most people do. I know I didn't, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't begin with the end in mind. And sometimes I still struggle with it because I don't know what the end is. But I think what's interesting, especially lately, I've had a couple of health things happen. We were on that boat.
Right.
And one of the most popular things on the boat was painkillers for all of us and different things. And we were all like, we've worked super hard to get to this stage in life and, we're enjoying it, but also, at what cost and when is something going to jump up and all of a sudden change the plan for you? And so in the book, 4,000 Weeks, when I just started reading it on your recommendation, and, he's talking about the way the speed of business is today, that let's just say his goal was no emails in the email box, right? His goal was 0 always. Okay. But the problem is, no matter if you get really good at returning emails and you're amazing at it, people respond more back to you. So when it's like never ending. It just keeps going. If you get very good at one thing, it grows. And the internet also, like, before you were happy with, like whatever you saw around you. And like, if you said, I want, say, that car, that Bentley, whatever, you get it. Well, now the internet changes it all. So no matter what level you get, there's a whole nother level that you may never get to. So you feel like you're unsuccessful or you feel like you're unsatisfied. And we were down there in St. Thomas and we were on a beautiful boat, but everywhere around us were better boats and whole other levels of rich and whole other levels of life.
Right.
That if you chase
Right.
that, your life could be absolutely miserable. And so in this book, he basically teaches you how to put stuff down and try to put stuff more in perspective.
Yeah. I remember a conversation related to that with somebody a while back. And they were talking about how, I think they were kind of proud, and they were talking about, they stay up till 11 o'clock. They were telling me about their day. And I said, well, when did I come home from work and eat dinner? I stay up till about 11 o'clock returning my emails. And I said, I don't return most of my emails. And the guy looked at me like I was like, I said, no, I don't return. I said, no, don't send me an email and absolutely expect I'm going to return it.
Right.
The other thing is, that's the time I spend a certain amount of time that I really cherish with my wife at that time. I'm not giving that up. I'm not giving that up to answer an email. Are you freaking kidding me? And that's, like you said, the more emails you return, the more you get.
Same if you always answer the phone. If you always answer the phone, you get more phone calls. My phone rang 2 times today, both from my daughter, because she knows I'll answer the phone. So since I answer the phone with my daughter, I get the phone call literally 2 times today because people tell me all the time, Mark, I hate calling you. I never can get you. That's by design. I do not answer the phone because if I answer the phone, all of a sudden I'm changing what I was doing and I'm throwing off whatever I was doing. And it gets to be a thing. Like, if you can always reach me by phone, guess what you'll do? You'll call me. Well, I don't want you to call me. And the people, so to that point, you're selective with your time.
I am. And I think I've intuitively been like that because, I'll give you an example. When I was young,
what's she doing?
My wife just let the cat in. When I was young, I remember, I think this is related, Mark, help me. But when I was young, I remember a lot of conversation. I'm talking 12, 13 years old about the price of gas. The price of gas. Gas is cheaper here. Everybody in my family was an expert on where the cheapest gas was. And I thought, all right, well, I'm a kid, but I want to be an adult, so I'm going to listen to this conversation. I tried to make it important to me, but I couldn't do it. And then I got 16 and I was buying gas and they would say, Kirby, did you go over there to that Marathon station 95 miles away to save 2 cents? I said, oh God, I didn't. I'm so disappointed in myself. I'm a loser. And they said, yeah, you that's right. You're never going to make it in life if you don't save that 3 cents of gas. I didn't get it. And finally I was just like, I shrugged it. And like I told you on the boat, when this insanity got around to the price of bananas, that's when I bailed. I said, I'm not having a life where I freaking want to know I have to follow the price of bananas. If I want a banana, I'm going to eat a freaking banana. And that's when I bailed on this thing of doing everything according to, this structure. Right. And so that's kind of how I've led my life.
It reminds me of a story I talk about quite a bit about my father. He was born during the Depression, and he was always concerned about saving money all the time. I always said he was addicted to cheap. I said, Dad, you're just addicted to cheap. Like, it didn't matter what it was. If it was cheap, it was a good deal. And when we went out to eat, and we were looking at the menu and then we were looking down the right side, I have a thing about that because my dad, all he did was look down the right side and decide what was cheapest, and that's what he was going to get. I don't care if it was a bologna sandwich, crackers and water, what it was. It wasn't about what he wanted. It was about what was cheapest. So
Yeah.
that's what he
Yeah.
had. And I
Yeah.
always made a thing kind of like you did. I'm never going to look down the right side of the menu. I don't care. I'm here. If we're going to eat, we eat whatever we want. I don't care what
Yeah.
it is. And that was always him. So like if we had a deal on gloves, I remember one time we went to buy gloves. I needed some gloves. He bought 600 pairs of gloves because they were like a few bucks off for a pair. And he's like, how many can you buy? I'm like, we can buy all these. And he bought them. Like, we couldn't use that many gloves in like 10 years, but it was better because it was cheap, right? And I mean, I think I'm different than that. But here's the thing. He had a scarcity mindset. And I have an abundance mindset.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that's a big difference in how you run your business, how you run your life, is what kind of mindset do you have?
Yeah, I love that. And that's me too. I love that abundance mindset. And like with my business, I didn't think I'm going to blow this thing up. I think part of it was my age, maybe. I was thinking I have a window and I have to be conservative and I don't want to screw this thing up. And I have a plan and the plan is working. And when you put away X number of dollars per month, like I said, look at the compound interest stat, man. It's magic, and you can get to your goal by not, you don't have to exploit it a whole lot.
So, well, go ahead.
Well, no, I've always liked the abundance thing. I don't want to, there's a whole lot of things I do. I'm not a penny pincher, but I want to make enough to cover the abundance
Of course.
And the future Kirby.
So I was talking to a girl that runs a business, and she was always trying to figure out how she needed more money from the business, basically. Okay, and you might have heard me talking to her on the boat, but I said the problem is you're doing this backwards. For the business, you need to put in how much money you need to make, and then you need to make the business make you that much money. Not try to scrape off what's left every week or every month, because she, has a lot of responsibilities. And I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. Now, you can't be unreal with what the business is going to make you, but you have to budget what you want the business to do, and then make the business do that. Whether it's you running one truck and charging, premium dollars, or you running 20 trucks and making it pay you. You have to make the business do what you want it to do, not wait for the business to give you what's left over. On your business, did you run on budgets? Or let me ask you this, when did you decide to start growing it? Like, you started it, but then how did you grow it?
I mean, I don't really, it's not like I grew a lot in the first place, but what I did was I waited now we're talking the early stages here. I'm just learning this thing. I'm going from a blue collar upbringing to a white collar job for a number of years to now a blue collar profession. And so I was very paranoid. I really needed to know what I was doing. So I was very cognizant of learning the craft. And so I got every certification.
You got to tell that story when we met each other.
Oh, I will. Yeah, that's a good one. I got a couple good ones about you. And I started learning the craft, and I got as many certifications as I could, and I got all ready. And I didn't want to go beyond my means. I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted my jobs to work out good. I didn't want callbacks. That's all about efficiency. Blah, blah, blah. And then when I was ready, I started taking calls from local contractors, and I started jumping into that business. And because of the system I had, the simplicity of how to deal with me, a bunch of contractors started calling me at once. And like within a year, I just like doubled the business, and I had a lot of referral business. So I wasn't going after the homeowner type thing. I was going after But to answer your question, I just waited until I was technically ready, until I was staffed up, until I had office manager, and I was prepared. But the way I met you, so yeah, you're like you're a great friend. You're the kind of friend where I cannot see you for 2 years, and then I can see you, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like nothing. It's like
Miss
I
it.
just saw you yesterday. I
Yeah.
love that. You're a nice guy, and you're curious, and I like that about you. I like people that are curious, and then you are a doer. You do stuff, and I think that's pretty cool because I have a hard time with that. But I think it was my first convention. I rode up there. I think it might have been Hershey,
I think it was
Pennsylvania. It was
Hershey,
snowing.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah, rode up there with, I know, a good friend of yours from Richmond. That's a joke. I won't say his name.
You're right. Yeah. Now I know you're talking about.
Yeah, but anyway, I rode up there, and like I said, I was very concerned about getting all my ducks in a row and learning this thing. And I'd come from computers, man. And I'm walking around. I know it was in the basement of that hotel, and Chris Pryor has a thing over here, and Ken Robinson's over here. Stuff going on, it's sensory overload. And I'm probably the only guy walking around with a notebook, and I'm taking notes as fast as I can. I'm just taking notes everywhere. I'm going around all the stops. I'm listening. And, you came up to me, and you're like, you just looked at me. You said, you take a lot of notes, don't you? That's what he said. You just take a lot of notes, don't you? And I was like, I didn't know where we were, like, what, is this a confrontation? What is this? And it was cool. And I said, yeah, I do, because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't remember what you said after that. But
Well, I watched you, and you literally were writing verbatim what they were saying.
yeah.
I'd never seen anybody take notes verbatim on what was said. And I'm like, man, you take a lot of notes. You're like,
yeah,
that's what I do.
like I said, man, I had to do whatever I could do. I'm just an average dude. But I'll tell you something that segues into that. It's probably one before this, but years later, the first time I went on the sailboat racing with you guys, I think it was 15 or 14.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there on the boat, and you look down at my hand, you say, you don't have a wedding band? I was like, well, no, well, and I felt like I had to explain. I was like, well, no, see, the thing is, Mark, is we were on vacation, and I left it in the hotel room, and I lost it. And then you said, you can't get another one? I was like, oh, man, what is this guy doing to me? And, like I said, same thing. And there's something about that I like. But anyway, 2 weeks later, so I drive up to Arlington, and I get this I don't have it on right now. I get this custom wedding band. So my wife appreciates that you said that.
You're welcome, Barb. She's sweet.
Yeah,
Well, so tell me, we're about 45 minutes into our normal hour conversation. Okay, so we talked about what you would tell the early Kirby, which is save your money, be profitable from the beginning, start with the end in mind. There's a bunch of us in this industry that are starting to move out. We're going to be, there's another generation coming up.
Yeah.
Some of us that have 5 years, have 10, but
very cool.
there's really another generation, and we're excited for them because they are fast moving. They're the fastest moving generation I've ever seen.
Right.
They are just taking this information, devouring it, and a lot of them are really acting on it. And it's really cool to see because they see this business completely different than we ever did. They see it as a true business. They like the trade, but they see the business and the opportunity, and it's neat to see them run, and what would you tell them? What would you tell them that are doing that in the growth mode?
I would tell them, I love what I see. Don't look at me and think that I'm an advocate for staying small and being profitable. I think you should look at me as just a guy that got into it late. I needed to accomplish a goal, and I did it. It's amazing. I can't believe where I am. I would have never thought I would be where I am when I started, but I love what I'm hearing. I mean, I think you should do it right, but I think the guys starting today are going to do it right. I don't think they need any advice from me in that regard, but you want to go multiple locations. I think you ought to do it. Economies of scale is great. Systematized. Everything's about systems, man. Yeah. And there wasn't a whole lot, like when I started, even though I had business experience, all of the conventions, Mark, right? All of the classes, everything was about the technical part, right?
It really was.
Hardly any business. And so I just like took it in because I needed to know that. But now there's business, you know, classes. That's not the right word, but there's business exposure now. But there's tons of that they already have coming into this. So
Yeah.
the industry offers a certain amount, but these guys have tons of it already coming in, and I love it. I certainly think that's going to be the future.
I remember I was in a class with a guy from Atlanta that had a really big operation. At the time, I think he was the second or third largest chimney company in the country. And I remember him listening to and watching all these classes, and he said, "You know what? We're teaching everybody the wrong stuff. We're teaching, we're not asking the right questions, and we're teaching the wrong stuff." And I said, "What do you mean by that?" He goes, "Man, we're all technical. It's technical, technical, technical." And he goes, "That will get you so far, but it won't grow this industry." And I remember it kind of changed my thought process at the time because I respected him a lot. And I realized he was right. And so, I mean, that was my advocacy as president and stuff. And I think my main point was this business can do whatever you want it to do. If you want it to be big and whatever number, that's great. If you want it to be a certain size and small, like you said, you had a number, you hit it, you stay profitable. It delivered. You built the vehicle to deliver the life you wanted, and it did it. And I think that is really the message.
I would add on to that. I would just say the sharp younger guys today that are coming in, they might be in their 30s or 40s right now. I'm sure they're going to do just fine. The guys that are coming in, regardless of where they are, and they've got the one truck, the two truck operation, don't think you can't make a really good future for yourself. You know, you have it too. You can also do it. There's a lot of information available to you. You got to go. Well, I personally believe you got to go for the 20% net thing. You got to run a perfectly clean business. You've got to just reverse engineer, man. You got to pay.
I love that mentality.
Look, man, please get an app and do some numbers. I think if you invest $70,000, $80,000 to $100,000 a year, just make it work, do what it takes to make that work. Just take a look at what that's going to give you later in life. You know, see how many years you have to do that. It's pretty amazing.
You know, part of the other thing is kind of who you hang out with too, like who you surround yourself with. You know, if you're around, you know, the old saying is if you're around 5 millionaires, you'll be the sixth. If you're around 5 drug addicts, you'll be the sixth. Like the point is, like when we were on that boat, when we sat around and talked,
yeah,
I don't get to have a lot of those conversations like that all the time. We were talking crypto, investments, land, businesses, acquisitions, sales. Like it was just our nature. And some of these guys have really big businesses, and it was just amazing to just hear us just talk. And I think the point, you know, that this is, and this helps with people because we talk like that, and you got to hang around people that are ahead of you, right? And John Meredith was saying, hey, get around some people that have, you know, next tier businesses to you or above, buy them lunch, do something to be around them if at all possible. Because just by them talking, that's what gave me the idea for the podcast. I was just listening to us talk and I'm like, this is so valuable. Like I need to share this.
I feel the same way. I mean, I feel so fortunate that we had that time. I mean, we were all together for a number of days and we were all interested in it. That's why we talked about it. And I mean, and we had some freaking experts on the boat, you know.
We learned a ton.
It was hard to absorb all of it, but it was what we enjoyed doing is listening to this thing. And
especially when Ron went off on crypto and how, I mean, that was, we're all glazed. This one guy knew crypto to a depth that nobody could follow.
No.
And we all got glazed.
No.
And I finally had to tell him, I said, dude, you lost us at the windmills. Like we're just come back to earth. But the point is, if you want something different in life, you have to do something different. You have to hang around the people that maybe have, and I talk about this a lot, just copy what somebody else did. You don't have to come up with it. You don't have to blaze your own trail. The answers are out there. Once you get what you want, you can start blazing your own trail. But be around the people, and again, like, I think it's part of what you teach your people to in your company, like have them have something to look forward to too, right? Like it's part of the culture of growth and what the business is. But all right, so we are coming to an end. I don't see any more questions. I think someone was trying to spam my thing and put some, I didn't post it. Let me check other things. Oh, I've got another thing. Diane Pilger says, I remember someone telling me, if you don't learn how to run your business, you can work yourself out of business. Very true, Diane. Yep. I've tried to do that a few times. Colby Armstrong, he runs a gutter company here in Nashville, and I've met him a few times. He says, thank you guys for sharing your wisdom. Kyle German says, we don't walk, we grow. And so we had nice stuff here. And Wade Blaylock, he's a handyman in this area, jumped on here. But good stuff, Kirby. What else? What wisdom can future Kirby leave the viewers with?
Well, I would probably point to, I don't know, just two things I can think of right now. But one is when you want to, if you have a goal and you want to do something different, like you just said something like, if you want to do something different, you have to figure out, you have to decide what you're going to cut out of your life.
That's a good point.
You can't add anything. You can't add, man. You already know what you're doing. You're doing all this stuff, and then you're watching TV at night. If you want to accomplish something new or something important to you, man, it's all about what are you not going to do. This whole life is about what are we not going to do. It's really not as much about what we're going to do as about what we're not going to do. There's a quote, I think it's a Warren Buffett thing. Pick the 25, I don't know if it's him or not. Pick the 25 most important things to what you want to accomplish in your life. Take the 5. That's what you're going to work on, the 5. And take the 20 and do everything you can to not work on those 20. Do everything you can to get those 20 out of your life, because they're going to distract you from getting to the 5, bro. And you're not going to get to the 5.
Yeah. It's kind of like your to-do list on any given day. I can tell you if I got 10 things to do, there's no way I'm getting them done. I need to pick 3 things max I'm going to get done in a day. And then everything else is handling stuff. But that's a good point, and Larry Winget said that a lot too. He's like, whenever you want to do something in life, you got to figure out what you're ready to give up, not what you're going to add to the plate. If you want to get thin, you got to give up time. You got to give up some money. You got to give up, eating. If you want to get rich, you got to give up spending money on frivolous things. Like, it's really what you have to give up. Once you figure out what you can give up to get something else, it's kind of like a sacrifice almost. But go ahead.
I would just say one more thing, maybe. One more thing is that what works for me is not goals, but systems.
Well, that's in Atomic Habits. That's what he says. James Clear says that.
Goals suck because you never, I mean, you're a failure all the time. And then what happens when you reach your goal? Well, that's gone. It's like systems are, and I could give 100 examples. I haven't read the book, but I'm sure it's in there. But it's about systems, not goals.
Well, it says basically your business will not reach the level of goals. It falls to the level of its systems. So whatever your systems are, that's where your real business, the goals don't matter as much. I mean, you could set it, but your systems actually will, deliver the result. And so it is about systems. Was it you that was telling me about that when you came through Blue Collar and you said, if you need anybody to make it more complex, Send them to me.
Yeah, because I when I first came to blue collar, I had a very complex system.
Yeah, that was it. You
And
had a lot of folders
I did. You remember that? I had folder holders or whatever down a wall,
down the
like
wall, down the, yeah.
15 feet, 3 layers, and it was all of our jobs, and they would move from here to there. It was wonderful, and I was trying to get the industry to catch on to that,
Right.
but I had some problems. But
They,
yeah,
they
and
were
I said, just as a benefit to anybody that wanted to get freaking complicated, bring them on. I'll do it.
That's it. Yeah, I was like, we need to simplify this. You know, like I agree, but you know what? If anybody needs to make it more complex, have them call me. I got it.
Yeah, and I appreciate everything I've gotten for you. It's been all about simplification, and actually, I've absorbed that, and that's me now. I'm
Yeah.
all about simplification too, and I can
Well,
give you a lot of credit for that.
that's an Apple thing and a Steve Jobs thing. Like anybody can make something complex. It's not hard to make something complex. It's hard to make something that is difficult simple. Like how do you draw that down? So Diane says, now that John is totally retired, we made life a little simpler. Every day is Saturday, and he does one thing a day. The gym is not included in the one thing. I love John and Diane. They are some of the best people out there.
Yeah.
Well, Kirby, I certainly appreciate your time, and I've enjoyed our friendship over the years and your wisdom. And future Kirby is a winner in my book, and I really appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
Okay, Mark, I enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bud. Take care.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed Kirby. He's a dear friend of mine. Pure heart, great chimney guy, always about education, always about getting better. I can tell you, he was always curious about business, and he always wanted to be about people, and he would try almost everything that would come his way. He would make a decision and he would look into it. Now he may change or decide something different, but he was always looking for the next step to get better. And I think that was a key in his growth, and he was always profitable from day one. I remember working with him, and it was like, this guy really knows how to run a business. He could run any business, and he just happened to choose chimneys, and that's how we got to know each other. So, guys, it's super fun to be back. Thank you for joining me tonight and spending your hour on a Tuesday night for SureFire Live, and we'll talk to you next week.